Okay, great. So welcome everybody. We're going to get started with some centering, grounding, and I will pull a tarot card today and we'll just kind of collect our energy and talk about the moon. So I'll invite you to find a shape that is comfortable for you to do that. And you may want to kind of stay close to the screen so that you can take a look at the tarot card when that moment comes up. So feel free to do this seated, or if you want to be laying down, that's fine. You don't necessarily have to look at the card. That'll just be an option in a little while. So if you are seated, taking a seat up on a little cushion, or if you're laying down, feel free to add your bolsters and blankets and whatever else you need to kind of get comfortable. And if you have had a stressful moment this morning like I did, or just in general, sometimes it's nice to take a bit of movement before you settle into stillness. So you can stretch, you can roll your shoulders. There's a little trick that I really like, which is helpful for sort of anxiety, panic, trauma, but can be useful for all of us, which is just taking a moment to look around the room. So especially if you're feeling a bit not settled, you can actually turn your head and just look sort of all the way around the room, to the right and the left, looking up, looking down, and even looking behind you. So you're just giving your brain a moment to kind of notice, like, here you are, right here. You know, hopefully this room feels relatively safe and familiar. So sometimes that can just kind of bring us back into the present moment. And when and if it feels right for you, you can go ahead and close your eyes. And begin to deepen your breath. In through your nose and out through your mouth. All the way in and all the way out. Just taking a few moments to allow the dust to settle. Sometimes I kind of imagine like a snow globe that's been shaken up. All we need to do with the snow globe is let it be still for a moment and the snow will drift to the bottom. And so let's just take that moment of stillness and kind of see what happens. We can let that swirling settle. I'm beginning to tune into your body, how your body is in relationship with the earth, how the weight of your body is held by the ground. And if you are sitting up, just noticing those parts of your body that are connected to the ground and whether you can shift ever so slightly so that it's just a bit less effort, so that you're just allowing yourself to be held a little bit more. And if you're laying down, perhaps just surrendering even a little bit more to that support. And as we tune into our bodies, we're also tuning into our relationship with the land, the living trees and dirt and animals around us, and the phases of the moon. And so we had a new moon just about 5 days ago, which is just edging over onto the half moon end of things. So we're coming out of the new moon cycle. And the way that I've been feeling this new moon is that it has been really calling for rest, even more than some other new moons. And maybe part of that is that we're entering into September with, a lot of stuff still happening in the world. It's also a really big anniversary today on September 11th. And some of us might be feeling some of that too. And the new moon has really been asking for us that we take the time to slow down and rest. And grief seems to be a theme that's been coming up for a lot of people lately as well. And the thing that grief really needs is to be sat with. It's just to be slowed down with and felt. And so the feeling that I'm getting 5 days into this cycle is that if we didn't take the time to really rest in the last few days, we're going to need it now. So we're kind of entering into this moon phase with a little more tenderness and a little more slowness than we sometimes do around a new moon. So just take a moment to notice how that's landing for you, how that's resonating for you. Maybe taking a moment to acknowledge your relationship with rest and how that's gone over the last week or two. And I'm going to pull a tarot card for us today. And this card is really meant for those of us that are here live and also those of us that are going to be watching this recording later. So trust that it's for you. Just checking in to see what guidance might be helpful to keep in mind for us today. Okay. So I have the 3 of Wands here. So if you'd like to take a closer look at your screen, you can take a look at this image from the Dreamkeeper's Tarot, which all the tarot cards have different images, and that's partly because the cards have energetic or intuitive meanings. They're not static. They don't always mean the same thing. It kind of depends on what's happening and who we're doing the reading for. So one of the most beautiful ways to read tarot is to take a moment to look at the card and see what it makes you feel, right? So just kind of notice what's happening for you. So we have this image of a woman who is standing at the edge of a cliff and she's looking out onto the sea and she has her 3 wands by her side. And so, for me, the mood here is kind of wistfulness or wishing and a feeling that there's sort of a moving forward that wants to happen, but that feels like a little insurmountable, right? And so the 3 of Wands, 3s are really nice numbers. Like they sort of make sense for a new moon because the idea is that we have 1, which is the beginning, 2 is the pair, and then 3 is adding on to that pair. So it's really kind of getting going or getting moving in the way that the new moon, the waxing moon really is. And Wands have to do with action, intensity, passion. It's the element of fire. So, what we're thinking about with Wands is what are we doing? What are the actions that we're taking? What are the choices that we're making? Which is also interesting because the moon goddess of today, which we're not going to talk about too much, but she's the goddess of choice. She's the goddess who asks, what are you going to do about it? That's sort of a energy of today's moon in particular. And so, for me, I think this card is really asking that. It's sort of like, it's this feeling of, what you want to do, but there's a step that you need to take that feels scary, right? And so, with this energy of the moon, we're kind of holding back a little bit. We're not jumping off that cliff quite yet, because we just need a minute to make sure that we're ready. And a theme that has been coming up for me around this as well is this idea of like knowing what I need to do, but also knowing how do I need to address the fears? Like, what do I need to do to address the parts of me that are resisting change so that I can actually take that step, so that I know, what can kind of happen on the other side of that. So there's definitely energy, there's movement, there's possibility, But if there's something holding us back, it's just our own fear of taking the next step, even though we know what that step is. Okay. So just noticing if that is kind of resonating for you, and there might be more meanings that are coming up for you too, just as you're sort of observing the card and sitting with some of those meanings as well. So we'll just take a moment to be with that, and we'll move into our practice. Okay. So let's go ahead and begin our practice in relative stillness, and we'll do a little bit of our centering there, a bit of our contemplation there, and then we'll move. So I'll invite you to take child's pose. If you have a favorite shape that you would rather take for your grounding contemplation, totally fine to do that. We'll all meet in the same place, but let's collect ourselves into child's pose and go from there. So if you have some props handy and you want to use them right away, you could put a bolster between your knees for your child's pose and settle that way, or you could just take your straight child's pose with your knees wide, toes together. I'm gonna start there myself and just place the hands down by the hips, which is a little bit more of a new moon version of a child's pose. It's a little bit of a kind of calmer, quieter, drawing in towards the self sort of shape. And let's take a few deep breaths here. And perhaps taking this moment to feel in your body some of the themes that are coming up for us today around taking action, moving forward, knowing what we need to do, but being not quite ready to do that, needing to hold back a little bit, needing to maybe face a fear, to look at the edge of the cliff before we're really ready to jump off of it. And that being okay, there being some practice in staying present with the reasons we're not moving forward, because there's always a reason, right? And maybe all we need is a little bit of rest. So noticing that, let's take a few more breaths in child's pose. And you can stay right here, or we can start to move into a little bit of flow just to kind of balance the energy before we come back down. So you can come through your cat and cow, spreading your fingers under your shoulders, knees under your hips. Inhaling into a little back bend and exhaling to round. And you can close your eyes as you're doing that and maybe make circles with your spine or move side to side. Just kind of see what movement your spine is asking you for right now. Maybe going a little bit slower than you normally would, just kind of honoring the tenderness of this particular moon. And when you feel ready, we can climb up to a downward facing dog. And of course, you can stay down on your hands and your knees if downward dog is not serving today. Otherwise, you can lift up your bum, tuck the toes, pedal the heels. Make sure you've got a little bit of a bend in your elbows. You're kind of hugging the elbows towards each other. And then walking the feet towards the hands and coming into a fold. So you could do that with elbows resting on bent knees, or you could hang down over your legs. Movement is welcome here, or stillness is fine too. Maybe give your head a little shake, just encouraging a release of the mind stuff. And you can let that head and shoulders be nice and heavy as you roll slowly to standing. If that doesn't serve your back, feel free to bend your knees a lot, look forward, and come up with a nice flat spine. And you can take a moment just to feel in standing your relationship again with the earth, your relationship with your posture and how your spine is kind of in connection with the ground. And we're going to take our moon salutation today. So this is a really nice sequence for balancing the energy, whether it's high or low, right? I'll do my best to mirror you here. So you can come up and stand along the short edge of your mat facing the long edge with the mat out on your left. So you're up on the right side of your mat. Lift up your toes, spread them apart and reconnect them. Feet could be together or hips distance is fine. We're going to inhale, reach the arms up to the sky and then interlace the fingers except for the first one. Exhale, curve toward your mat. Inhale through center. And as you exhale, curve away. Inhale, come up through center. Step your left foot out so you're nice and wide on your mat. Turn your toes out. And as you exhale, bend the knees and elbows. Good. Straighten your legs. Turn your left toes out to the left, right toes in a bit. We're coming into triangle. Tip your hips back, reach forward, and place the fingertips lightly on the shin, turning the heart open to the sky. Take a nice big inhale here. And as you exhale, come into pyramid pose. So you're going to look down, bring the fingertips to either side of the front foot. You could use your blocks here as well. I'm just going to step my back foot in a little bit so it's more pointing forward and it's a little bit wider. We can take a couple of breaths here, lengthening as we inhale, exhale and melt. Drawing that left hip back a little bit, long spine. Folding any amount, doesn't have to look like much here, okay? Let's take one more. Okay. Inhale, and then as you exhale, we're going to prepare for a lunge. We'll do a high lunge here. So tuck those back toes under, bend the knee a bit, hug the inner thighs, and rise up. Let's settle the shoulders down the back, work the back leg towards straight, even while drawing the front ribs in, tailbone down a bit. And then inhale, and we're coming into side angle. So we're going to spin that back heel down. Bring the elbow to the thigh, or hand could come down if you're comfortable there. And then just as you inhale, stretch that right arm alongside your ear. Good. Inhale. And on the exhale, we're taking wide-legged forward fold. So you're going to bring your hands down, parallel your feet so all the toes point in the same direction. You can halfway lift here. And then melt. And we'll just take a couple of breaths in the fold. Hands could stay on the mat, that's fine. Some of you might like interlacing the fingers around behind you. Just kind of see the variation that works best for you. Nice deep breaths. Okay. And then inhale, and as you exhale, we're going to come into side angle on the other side. So the right toes are going to turn out to the right. Bring the elbow to the thigh, and then reach that left arm over the ear or up to the sky works too. Hug your hip a bit under you, turning the heart open to the ceiling. Good. Inhale, and then we're coming into high lunge. So I like to loop my left arm back, spin onto the ball of my back foot, and I kind of use that to rise up, to sweep up. Settle the shoulders down the back. Nice and long through both sides of the waist, strong through the back leg. Inhale. And then bring the hands down. We're coming into pyramid, so the back foot steps in a little bit. Feel free to have your blocks there. And we'll take a couple of breaths, lengthening out. Lengthen and out. One more. Okay, and then we're going to think about triangle pose. So I'm going to take my back foot and just step it back a little bit and turn the toes a little more out. I'm going to take my right hand onto my shin, left arm opens to the sky. So we're just going through nice and slow at first. One more breath. Nice work, you guys. Then inhale, both arms come up, toes turn out. We come back into that goddess shape, bending the knees and the elbows. And then on the next inhale, we're going to step up to the left edge of the mat. So the other side. We're going to reach the arms up, curve toward the mat, up through center, curve away. Up through center, step the right foot out. Turn the toes out, bend the knees and the elbows. Straighten the legs, turn the toes to the right. Triangle pose. So right toes out to the right. Yeah. Inhale here, maybe moving a little bit faster here. Exhale into pyramid, so the hands come down. Back foot steps in a little bit and it goes slightly wide. Lengthen as you inhale. Stay as you exhale. Lengthen as you inhale. This time as you exhale, preparing for high lunge. So we're going to step the back foot back a little, bend the knee, and then use your inhale to help you come up. Settle your shoulders. Inhale again. Exhale, coming to side angle. So bringing the elbow to the thigh, left bicep alongside the ear. I'm just lengthening my stance a little bit here. Okay, inhale, filling up the shape. And then exhale, wide-legged forward fold. So the hands come down, feet parallel. Again, take your favorite version here. I quite like fingertips forward, heart melting back. Inhale again. Next, exhale, we're preparing for side angle with the left toes turned out to the left. And then try to wait for your inhale to fill up the pose so the arm comes up alongside the ear. Nice. Good, okay. Inhale, we're gonna prepare for lunge so that right arm can rise. And then we're coming onto the ball of the back foot. And we use the inhale to complete the pose, coming up into high lunge. With the left foot forward, that's it. Settle the shoulders. Inhale. Bring the hands down, pyramid pose, fingertips land. You could use your block, step that back foot in a little bit, make sure it's a bit wide. Lengthen. And melt. Okay, inhale. Exhale, we're going to prepare for triangle. So step that back foot back a little, turn the toes out a bit more. Left hand onto the shin, right arm opens to the sky. Nice. Stay here as you exhale. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, bend your knees and your elbows. And then step back up to the right edge of the mat where we started. That's it. Reach the arms up. Curve toward your mat. Up through center. Curve away. Up through center. And then bring your hands to your heart. Okay, so we're going to go through that's one round. Okay, we're going to do another one. And this time I'm going to show you the more classical options, which can be a little intense on the knees. So feel free to take to mix and match and take whichever variation works for you. It's fine. You can do that same sequence that we just did. We're going the same steps, they're just slightly different poses. Okay, and we'll try to go through one breath per movement. So it might feel a little faster, but don't rush. Okay, next time you inhale, arms go up. Exhale, curve. Up through center. Exhale, curve. Up through center. Step the left foot out, bend the knees and the elbows. Straighten the legs, turn the left toes out to the left, right toes in a little bit, triangle. Inhale here. Exhale, pyramid, hands come down, back foot might step in a little. Lengthen as you inhale. As you exhale, high lunge, or maybe this time low lunge, back knee comes down. Inhale to rise. Exhale, settle the shoulders. Inhale, lengthen. As you exhale, prepare either for side angle or half squat, which looks kind of like this. So I'm sitting on my left heel, right leg is extended out. And on the inhale, I might try a little balance, bringing my hands to my heart. And then on the exhale, right away, we're coming into wide-legged forward fold or full squat. So symmetrical pose. And let's take a nice deep breath here. And out. Inhale again. Use this exhale to prepare for side angle or half squat on the other side. So that is the right side here. The right knee is bent. You might bring hands to your heart if you're playing with that half squat. And then right away on the exhale, we transition to high or low lunge with the right leg forward. Rising up. Settle the shoulders on the exhale. Lengthen. And then pyramid, hands come down, back foot steps in a little. Lengthen. Stay here as you fold. And then inhale will be triangle. So step that back foot back a little, turn the toes out, left arm rises. Stay here as you exhale. Use your inhale to rise up. That's a transition called star. Turn the toes out, knees and elbows bend, goddess. And then we step up to the left edge of the mat. Reach the arms up. Curve toward the mat. Up through center. Curve away. Up through center. Step the right foot out. Bend knees and elbows. Last cycle. Straighten the legs. We're coming into triangle. Right toes out to the right. Stay as you inhale. Nice complete inhale. No rush. Exhale, pyramid. Hands come down. Back foot steps in a little bit. Lengthen as you inhale. As you exhale, prepare for lunge, high or low. Inhale to rise. Settle the shoulders. Lengthen. And then side angle or half squat. The right knee is bent. Left leg is straight. And I like this sort of open inhale here rather than hands at heart. It's just personal preference. And then as you exhale through center, so wide-legged forward fold or squat pose. Deep inhale. And exhale, stay. Beautiful. Inhale again. This next exhale, we're coming into half squat or side angle with the left knee bent towards the left leg. And then taking your arm variation, I'm just opening up the right arm here. And then turning into your lunge, high or low, with the left leg forward. Inhale to rise. Settle the shoulders as you exhale. Lengthen. And then pyramid, hands come down, back foot steps in a little. Lengthen as you inhale. Stay here as you exhale, fold in. And then triangle, so the back foot steps back a little bit more, right arm rises. Settle. Inhale, rising all the way up. Toes turn out. Exhale, bend knees and elbows. And then as you inhale, step back up to the right edge of your mat where we started, reach the arms up. Last time, curve toward your mat. Up through center, curve away. Up through center, and then bring the hands together at your heart or over top. And just take a few moments to breathe and feel. Noticing your energy, your relationship to the earth. And then let's get a little closer to that earth. So release your hands, let your chin drop. You can bend your knees and do a little reverse ragdoll towards the ground. And if you're having one of those days where you're feeling like you need to add a vinyasa or something like that here before you kind of settle towards our stillness practice, feel free to add that. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to meet on our bums. Okay, and we're going to take a nice restorative back bend to begin. So if you have a bolster, grab it. If you have a cushion, that's great. And you can lay back on the bolster. So I'm just going to give you a couple options depending on how you're feeling today. So nice simple one. Lots of people like this one. Just laying back on the bolster. I've got soles of the feet together, knees open wide, and I could put my bricks underneath the thighs. Keep in mind we will be here for a little while. If you're not crazy about that one, or if you have some lower back sensitivities, elevate the top edge. And the simplest way to do that is just with the 2 bricks stacked. Or if you have 2 pillows, you could put them in kind of a T shape. That works too. And then lay back on that. So that's a little more restorative. It's a little more supportive of the body. Again, you could do this soles of the feet together, knees open wide shape. If you have a blanket, you could wrap it around your ankles and under your thighs. If you have a second pillow or bolster, you could put it under your knees, or you could just straighten your legs out. If you happen to have a sandbag, hot water bottle, you could put that on your belly. You could put an eye pillow or a scarf over your eyes. So feel free to add whatever props kind of work for you here. And then find a shape that works for you in terms of your arms. So you could take the palms open. You could have the hands resting on the belly. You've got some shoulder stuff going on. Sometimes elevating the elbows a bit is nice. And then just breathe deeply into the space of your heart. Allow your belly to get nice and spacious. Allow your breath to be soft. I'm talking a little bit today about grief, which is something that seems to be coming up for a lot of us lately. And the thing to do with grief is nothing. In the sense of just sitting with the grief, taking a moment to just be with it rather than trying to distract ourselves or do something else or even trying to make ourselves feel better. And energetically, grief lives around the chest, sort of energetic heart region. So if you're willing, if it's comfortable for you, you could take a little bit of time here just to breathe into that heart space. So whatever it is you're feeling here, just be with it. So we don't have to do anything with it except for, pay attention, listen, breathe. Those are things that we can do, but we're not trying to change it. So just notice how that feels for you to stay present with what you're feeling in your heart. Just take about 3 more breaths here. And if it feels good for you to sigh out of your mouth to make some sound, please feel free to do that. It can be really helpful for releasing grief or any other emotional state. You're welcome to stay a little longer if you'd like. Otherwise, you can gently bend the knees up and wash them from side to side a couple of times. And then we'll come into a twist from here, quite simple. So if your feet are about mat's distance, you can knock them to the left, or sorry, to the right, doesn't matter which side really. And then roll to that side, press yourself up, and then you can actually just keep your bolster right where it is, or your cushion. And just make sure that your hip is kind of snuggled right up to the edge of the prop. And again, you can have the top edge elevated as I have here. And then you're just gonna fold down thusly. So I've got my arms down on the mat. You could also have your back arm resting beside your hip. If this is in any way uncomfortable to have the legs in this kind of deer position, you could put them together with the prop in between them. So this is quite a mild twist. It's safe for pregnancy, but if you're not comfortable with a twist at all, you could do a side bend instead. So I'm just going to show that briefly in case you need it. You would have your bolster horizontal on your mat, and you would have some kind of soft prop for your head around the same height. And then your arm just goes in between and you're resting like this. So kind of a similar shape, but not a twist. Twists aren't appropriate for everyone every day. So that's an option there. And this one, we get to turn a little bit more down towards the earth, which is really nice, I find, around a new moon. And again, we can just breathe, this time with a little bit more of an intention of perhaps letting something go into the earth. So if there is some grief, if there is something that's coming up for you right now, maybe this is an opportunity to just kind of offer it to the earth, trusting that the earth knows how to recycle energy like this to transform it into something else. And letting it be okay for you to let as much of it go as you want to, keeping in mind that the pieces that you want or need to keep will stay, and that's fine. Okay, and when this one feels complete for you, you can place the hands down, gently rise up, and we'll switch sides. So you can turn towards your legs and simply rock them over to the other side, sitting on your opposite hip. You can again keep your prop right exactly where it is, and then just settling down on this side. So again, you can have your arms in this kind of cactus position. You can have your back arm resting by your hip. You You can have your knees together, or if you prefer to rest in that side position, you're just coming to the second side here. Again, breathing into your belly and allowing your energy to flow down in towards the earth. There's a bit of a feeling of ever so slightly rounding the back here, kind of protecting the front body with the back body. So for a lot of people, this one's quite comforting, quite calming for the nervous system. So just notice, that may or may not be happening for you, but just notice how you're feeling here and allow the shape to do its magic just by resting. So again, notice if you're feeling ready to move out of this shape. And if you do feel ready, you can find your hands and just very gently rise back up to your seat. You can turn away from your prop and wash your knees side to side a couple times. And then we'll take one more, and we may stay in this one for a while. It might just be for a short time. And I'm going to give you two options. So again, you can keep your prop exactly where it's been. We're doing a little restorative flow today. So option one is child's pose, toes together, knees apart, snuggling in with or without the elevation underneath the top edge of the bolster. Or we can take a little hip opener. So for this one, my blanket is right here. So for this one, if you do have something that you can put underneath the legs, that's helpful. I'm just taking a really kind of lazy cobbler shape. So I've got my soles of my feet actually not together. They're either side of these bricks here. And the knees are open. And then I can just take, if I have two little cushions, that's helpful. If I have a blanket that's long enough, I can kind of wrap it under, even just taking it behind my bum and wrapping it under my thighs like that, just to give a little bit of extra support. You may want to sit up on that blanket as well, or sit up on another prop. And then we can take a fold forward. So if you're doing this variation, we're not going to hold too long. It's a little more yin-like. So folding down, and so maybe the forehead lands on that little ramp. Maybe you need it to be a little higher by bringing the bricks in a bit closer. That's one option. Or taking one of them on its tall edge. Or if you have more bolsters, more pillows, you can fill up that space here. Well, most of you know I love a hip opener on a new moon, which of course we're moving out of the new moon phase, but it really is, it's like the pelvis is the place where we kind of need to be around that time. So just giving this a little bit of space, a few breaths. We won't be here too long unless you want to be. Continuing to breathe into the back body, into the pelvis. And this one is a little bit more yin-like. So if you are feeling like you want to stay longer, that's totally fine, but it is enough if you're feeling like it's time to come out, okay? So if you're ready to come out with me, we'll just roll up to a seat. We can take fingertips behind us, hugging the shoulder blades, wiggling the toes. And then you can gently draw the knees together and take a little windshield wipe. And if you want, you can just move your stuff out of the way. And we're going to move from here into some contemplation. So for you, that might mean seated meditation. It might mean Shavasana, or it might mean some journaling. Okay. And if you're taking a meditation and you have a way that you like to meditate, that's completely fine. But if you'd like something to think about for contemplation or for journaling, the question around the particular tarot card today is, what do I fear about success? If I were to allow this energy to flow and really move forward in the direction that I'm going, what are the things I fear about that experience? Okay, and if you're ready for Shavasana here and you want to rest, of course, feel free to make your way down onto your back and rest. You don't necessarily have to take the question for contemplation unless it's useful for you. We'll stay in our contemplation a little bit longer. So if you'd like, from here, you can make your way into a Shavasana and rest, laying on your back, maybe with your bolster under your thighs, or any shape that serves you for Shavasana. If you prefer to rest in meditation, that's welcome too. And if you'd like to continue journaling, that's also welcome. So we'll take a few more minutes in our quiet before we gather together to close our circle. Take a moment to notice how you're feeling. Any thoughts or sensations or messages rising up from your body. If you feel ready to shift out of your shavasana or your contemplation, just beginning to wiggle your fingers and toes. You could rock your head. Maybe you'd like to take a stretch, reaching your arms up over your head. And making your way to a comfortable seat. So if you're laying on your back, just drawing in the knees and gently curling over to one side. And when you do find that seat, you can place your hands over top of your heart or together, wherever feels right for you. And just take a moment to bow your mind to your hands, honoring and acknowledging the work that it took for you to show up to your practice today, whatever that felt like, whatever may have come up for you in your practice today. Honoring and acknowledging the long and complex lineage of teachers that is with us in our practice. Honoring and acknowledging the land that we practice on, wherever that may be in the world. And for me, that includes Plains Cree and Blackfoot territory. And honoring each other. Thank you for sharing your practice.